Hello everyone. Welcome you all to the CEC lectures. In the ongoing lecture series, we've been talking about the novel form, and while talking about this form or the genre, we've been discussing various texts and the dynamics of this genre, how it developed at different points in time. Particularly, we are looking at the English novel. So we've been covering various centuries. One of the century that we've covered so far is 19th century, and that is what will be continued in discussion today as well. But of course, we take a new text to look at still further different kinds of novel writing that was done at this time. So the text in consideration today is one of the most popular ones by Lewis Carroll, and it's called Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Of course, it is abbreviated most commonly as Alice in Wonderland, and this was written in 1865. Now, I'm sure that a lot of us would be aware of this text even from our childhood, because this novel belongs to the genre of children's literature. And if we look at the cover of this book as well, we see the kind of illustrations over there that clearly gives us an idea of what the readership was of this particular book. But then you might also wonder that why are we taking it up for literary analysis? Now, this text belongs to the genre of children's literature, and we all understand that how children's literature is a very complex category. It's not just pertaining to it not just pertains to the children and their interests, but at the same time it has those elements as well which appeal to the adult audience. Now, of course, we will talk about all of this as we go along in the lecture. But first, let's take a brief look at the author of this novel. Now, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland was written by, as I mentioned, Lewis Carroll, and it was written in 1865. Now, Lewis Carroll was actually a pen name, and the actual name of the writer is Charles Dodgson. So that's his real name. And he's actually well known for writing children's fiction which harps on fantasy, which harps on illustrations, and so all of that is what Lewis Carroll is actually known for. There's also a very seminal text which is a sequel to the novel that we are doing today, and this sequel is called Through the Looking Glass, and this was written in 1871 by Lewis Carroll again. So actually these two texts must be read in conjunction for us to get a hang of what the author is trying to do over here. But if we look at the author's background, we find that how he was a staunch Anglican. Now, Carroll had a close association with the church. He was, very closely associated with the activities of the church. Even the family that he belonged to was the one who was, a firm believer in religion. Now, you might wonder that, how does this detail help us understand the writing that he did? There's actually a very interesting incident which is, associated with Lewis Carroll's association with the church. So, in 1856, a person called Henry Liddell moved to Oxford, and he was, appointed as the dean over there. So, he of course moved along with his family. And Henry Liddell then became a very close friend of Charles Dodgson or Lewis Carroll. Now, he also had daughters, Alice Liddell and two other daughters. And one day, it is widely believed that along with Henry Liddell and his family, Charles Dodgson went on an expedition in July 1862. And they were all rowing in a boat. And that's the time when Dodgson narrated a story to Alice Liddell, the daughter of Henry Liddell. And this story that he narrated to her then is believed to have been later translated or given the form of the novel that we read, that is Alice in Wonderland. So this like the origin of this novel then has this kind of a connection with Henry Liddell, who was part of the Anglican Church, and of course the young girl, his daughter Alice, to whom this story was told. Now if we very quickly move on to talking about what exactly is Alice in Wonderland all about. So the foremost thing that we should remember is that this book primarily is about a young girl, Alice, who slips through a rabbit hole to reach a subterranean fantasy land. Now this very premise itself, does it not sound very fascinating? So here's a young girl who is extremely bored, and she's sitting under a tree. She doesn't know what to do, and that's when she spots a rabbit, and the rabbit really interests this young girl. So she tries to follow him, and while following that rabbit, the rabbit very quickly moves into a hole, and thereby following him, even Alice ends up going inside that hole. And through that is then that's where begins her journey or her descent into a fantasy land which is subterranean, meaning which is under the surface. And what lies ahead is actually what the entire story is about, what the entire novel talks about. So right from the beginning then we see how there are very heightened elements of imagination, of fantasy. There's a young girl. So this clearly establishes this novel as a novel of belonging to the genre of children's literature. Now the second thing that we see about this text, and one should make a point, is that how Alice in Wonderland is a very fine example of the writing style which is called literary nonsense. Now isn't it a very intriguing word, literary nonsense? Now, of course, nonsense over here does not mean that it just would not make sense. It's a very, very curious and an interesting category, or I should say a style of writing, which was adopted by a lot of writers in the 19th century. So this text, we say, belongs to that form or style of writing in the 19th century. We'll of course talk about it, talk about this concept in great detail in just a bit. But for once, understand that how this text belongs to the writing style or adopts the style of literary nonsense. The second thing we need to keep in mind, that how Alice in Wonderland is also a parody of Victorianism. Victorianism being the age at the time when Queen Victoria was ruling England. So there were certain features, certain trends, certain cultural values that were noticed at that time, and this text then seems to parody all those values and all those aspects. So we will see how this text then also is a parody of this trend called Victorianism. Thirdly, we say that Alice in Wonderland belongs to the genre of children's literature. Now this is in fact the very first thing that I had mentioned when I opened the lecture, and it's one of the crucial points for us to interrogate when we approach this text. Now coming to the first point that I made, that Alice in Wonderland is a fine example of literary nonsense. Now what is literary nonsense? It's actually a form of writing in which certain elements of language and logic that facilitate meaning are balanced by elements that negate meaning. Now, over here, when you look at the word for the first time, the word nonsense gives us an impression that all that's going to be in the text is something that won't make sense. But again, that is not the case. So as this definition very clearly points out, that how this is a style of writing in which the novel or the text that we are dealing with, it has those elements which do make sense, and at the same time there are elements which also stop or negate the meaning from unfolding, and these elements then contribute to the idea of the nonsense. Okay. The next thing that we also notice about this is that how it is a form whose elements are seen in early writings of the French writer Rabelais. So we might say that even as this form came into being, or in fact not came into being but came into prominence in the 19th century England, but we do have references, or we do have examples of texts that did deploy this writing style even before, and one such example is, as I told you, of the French writer Rabelais. Okay, but for us what's important is we are going to look at how this form is one of the important ones in the 19th century, the time that we are engaging with in this lecture series. What we see is that we may question that who came up with this idea, or where did this idea or where did this concept come into being, or how did it start to be popularized. So we will kind of make sure that our discussion is centered around 19th century. So talking about 19th century then, the writing style of literary nonsense was actually inaugurated by the author Edward Lear, and he is considered to be a pioneer of this style in Victorian England. He wrote this book called A Book of Nonsense in 1862, and it carried drawings and verses that inaugurated this form. Now, if you very quickly look at the cover of this book, what does it tell you? See, you have children, you have this person who is of course an adult, but the way these illustrations are made, this very clearly gives us a sense of what the book is about. So you see that peculiar nose over there, that belly. So we see a kind of a very exaggerated and comic representation of human beings over there. So this gives us a sense that how this book was meant for children. This book had illustrations that resembled cartoons, and how this book also then inaugurated this form or this style of literature of nonsense. And Edward Lear over here actually in this book mentions some verses, like it's a collection of verses, and also it has certain drawings associated as well. Okay, now if you very quickly take a look at this another illustration, and this is also from the Book of Nonsense by Edgar Lear. Now over here, what do you see? Here's a man who has this beard, and in the beard, in this absolutely larger than life beard, we see birds living there. So what's happening? There's a direct a sense of caricature which is evoked over here. We see that how the normal is questioned, and these cartoons or these illustrations are very, very heightened in imagination. So all these elements then actually also kind of defined this genre. So we see that how Lear in this book portrays a world of fantastic creatures through nonsense words. Now after Lear, soon to follow in this kind of writing was Lewis Carroll, the author that we are going to consider today. Okay. Now if we think about this writing style, now we must be aware of certain various specific techniques and devices which are deployed by writers of literary nonsense that also then help us spot or identify such a text. So let's very quickly look at these techniques and what they are. The first such technique is imprecision. So these texts have a lot of imprecisions, means that there are irregularities irregularities in language, irregularities in even illustrations, including gibberish. Now, what is gibberish? Gibberish is basically utterance which does not make sense. It does appear to be English, but actually it does not make sense. So that is one of the characteristic features of such writing. The second is inversions. Inversions, as the word itself suggests, that the usual or the conventional meaning of things, the conventional ways in which we approach world are all inverted in these texts. So what these texts are trying to do is that they make us approach the world in a very different manner, where everything is topsy-turvy. It is not at all according to how we have seen the world around us. The third feature is arbitrariness. Now, what do we mean by arbitrariness? It means that arbitrary means that there is no pattern, being absolutely intuitive or instinctive. So you will notice that how a lot of times even the plot seems to have a lot of jumps. Like, you will be surprised with the fact that how there's a the story is going on, and while reading there will be all of a sudden there will be a verse in between. So what is happening? These two genres are being mixed. So there's no set pattern to anything when it comes to literary nonsense. Next, of course, we have reversals, and I want to particularly bring your attention to the kind of words that are deployed over here. One of the kind of words are the portmanteau. What does that mean? It means that portmanteau is actually a word which is a mix of two different words. So when two different words come together, they appear as one, and that word then seems to convey some meaning. So again, what is happening? There's a lot of play with words also in this kind of writing. And last, but of course not the least, is the device of the riddles. Now you will see that how these texts have a lot of riddles in them, and what makes it part of the nonsense is the fact that these riddles have no answers. So you will see characters presenting these riddles to each other, and when the other person or when the other character is not able to guess the answer, he or she asks for the answer, and the other one does not know it. So basically nobody knows the answer to that riddle. So again, this also contributes to a very distinctive feature that we notice in all writings of literary nonsense. Another thing that we notice about this form is that how fantasy and literary nonsense have a lot of things in common. There are many points of intersection. The first point of intersection is that how both interrogate language and logic. Now, what do I mean by that? It means that whenever you have a text of fantasy or you have a text deploying literary nonsense, the language then stands to be questioned. The logic which otherwise defines our lives stands to be questioned. Why? Because both of these are experimented thoroughly, both of these are inverted in all ways possible, and just now I had given you an example of how there are these different ways of experimenting with language and logic. The second thing that's also, the second point of intersection between fantasy and literary nonsense is that how both of them, they depict impossible circumstances. So these texts then are based around those events or those circumstances which do not seem to have a parallel in real or actual life. Okay? And the third point of commonality between fantasy and nonsense is that they are teasingly irreverent. Now, what do we mean by irreverent? Irreverent means disrespectful. Okay. Now, you might wonder that how do these literary forms, so to say, disrespect? Now, at the heart of this kind of writing, friends, is a certain kind of a questioning of all that which is considered to be normal. So everything that we take for granted, the kind of reality that we are used to, all of that, the moment it is inverted, the moment it is thrown out of order, we begin to think, right? So these fantasy and literary nonsense then are irreverent towards tradition. They make us question tradition. They make us take a fresh look at all that we have observed so far around us. All right. So we have then seen that how Alice in Wonderland is a 19th century text written in 1865 by Lewis Carroll, and we have also noticed three important things which are important with respect to this text. The first being that how it's a fine example of literary nonsense, second that it's a parody of Victorianism, and thirdly that how it's a text belonging to the genre of children's literature. So in this lecture I have introduced or discussed the concept of literary nonsense. In the next part of the lecture we will look at how this novel then subscribes to this kind of writing, and also we will go on to discuss the next 2 points as well. Thank you.